Check, check, check. Hey, everybody. Lazy Ben. Sort myself out. All right. Shorter stream today. I'm going to stream till 1 o'clock, which is still 3 hours. 4 hours. 3 hours? 4 hours. 3.5 hours. All right. So just upload yesterday's video to YouTube. All right. Give us a second. On to combat part 15. Day 50. Combat part 15. It's 15 videos on combat. All right. Nice one. Okay. So today we're just going to keep working on combat at 16 or 17. 16. Shorter stream. I'm going to stream till 1. So I want to handle. There's a known bug where if I kill the enemy, the game thinks it just does game over. Which isn't great. We'll sort that out after, though. What I want to do is I want to handle the cooldown in a animation routine agnostic way, really. So right now, if we get interrupted, we basically cool down our attack. But this has to be done for. Nice. If we attack and we get interrupted because someone else attacks us at the same time or just before, what is it? What's the problem? No, it's if we get hit, isn't it? If we get hit from an attack, if we get hit, then we need to react to being hit. But the problem is there's lots of these different routines. There's roaming, combat, harvest, ground item, and in theory you can get hit. You can get hit in any of these routines. Well, probably not the death routine, but any of the other ones. And I don't want to have to handle getting hit individually in all these routines, because if I hadn't, basically means whenever I had a new routine, I'd have to remember that, oh yeah, remember to handle getting hit by the player or by the enemy. So we need an agnostic, we need a way to basically not have to keep implementing that. So the way I think I want to do that is have a new routine for being hit. So when you get hit, it just sets that routine and you handle how you get hit. And then you go back to the old routine that you were on. Basically. I think we'll do that. We'll just rename this Hero Pro Death Routine, because everything else is Hero. Oh, is it? Some are Hero and some are Hero Pro. This should all be Hero Pro, really, because that's the name of the rig. So we'll do it here before the death. Struct Hero Pro hit or combat hit routine. And we need to know what type of routine we were in as well, so we can push back to it. So we can pop this routine off and set the other one, because this is only going to be like, we're going to get hit for a bit and then we're going to end this routine and we're going to go back to whatever routine maybe if you get hit, you probably do want to go to the combat routine, don't you? I would say, actually. Maybe we don't need to know. Maybe if once you get hit, you're always in the combat routine. We'll try that for now anyway. I think all we really need is an on enter. We probably need on enter, on tick, and on event, I would imagine. So when we enter, we set that we've been hit, play the animation routine that we've been hit, and then actually we don't need a tick because we're just going to wait until the animation routine is finished. And then we're going to end. We're going to end this routine. So probably I just need 2 of those. And we need the hit handle. So this is just basically what is going to get set by the animation. And then we're just going to wait for that to end. Okay. And then we'll include this just in our list of routines. Okay, so when we enter, we need to do hit handle is rig dot play animation set animation track to hit. And then we're going to say if e.type is equal to loop end, which is the end of the animation loop, and e.handle is equal to the hit handle, meaning it's this animation that's ending, the hit animation that's ending. So you need to say hit handle is 0, and we need to end this effect. So that's this routine. So it'd be like rig. We don't really have a way to end. Well, we do. We can do it through the animation controller. With this ID, we can just cancel the animation override routine. I'm going to make sure, because we're going to be doing this inside its own routine. Just want to make sure that that isn't going to cancelling itself inside itself. Obviously, could lead to some problems potentially. But I think it's fine in this case. So all this means is we're going to play the hit routine. When the hit routine is ended, we're just going to cancel it. Now we don't need to cancel it. We need to actually play the combat routine again. Hero per combat routine. So when that's actually what we want to do. So once we've been hit, we're assume we're going to go into combat. Not necessarily. We need us, because then we might be sat kind of like doing the attack animation. Let's put this in the right place. Combat. Harvest ground item. We did it before death, didn't we? The death routine. Yeah. So if we just start the combat routine, I don't think we could just start the combat routine, you know, because he might not have his sword drawn. He'll be trying to attack with no sword. Maybe we go to the roaming. Yeah, we'll cancel back to roaming. That's what we'll do. And we can't cancel back to roaming because we might be in the combat routine already. I think what we need to do is if get game state dot is playable character. So if this rig is the playable character and get game state get play, what do we call it, get gameplay state is combat. So that's basically we're in combat. We need to do AC play animation override routine hero pro combat routine. I think that will do it. So if we're in combat, we play the combat routine afterward. Otherwise, we just cancel whatever override routine we're in, which would be this one. Which would mean it would default back to the roaming routine, which is just the general routine of running around. Okay. So that means whenever we get hit, well, whenever we get attacked, so here so whenever we get attacked as the hero, we need to set now this hit routine. So this is us getting attacked as the hero. This is what we want to avoid, having to re-implement so this means it needs to go in the animation controller, I think, rather than here. So animation controller, or the combat controller even could be there, couldn't it? So it's attacking. So this is attack. So we send an event combat attack. Who's that picked up by? So someone sends a custom animation event here. So it's here. So we send an animation event, a custom animation event there. So the rig itself, we need to do it on the actual rig itself as well. So maybe we write a system where we can send the rig itself animation events as well. So this just sends the animation events to the routines, but it'd be nice to send it to the rig itself. So it'd be like rig on animation event. No, not the rig types. This. So the rigs types can get sent. Animated rig type. So is that just type? Yeah, so if x.type is equal to type, so we do on animation event, on animation event, this, well, we know it's this animation event type, like that, I think. I don't think we need to do that, you know. I just think we just need to just call on animation event like that. No. It's X. Not the animation controller we're doing it on. It's the rig type we're doing it on. So we could actually now we need to do it there, I think. So obviously the rig types don't have an on animation event yet. We do need to pass the animation controller, I think, as well. Okay. So obviously the rig needs this to note on animation event. So so rig type has on animation event. And then we just do t.onAnimationEvent controller event EVT. And it doesn't return anything. Okay. Rig has on animation event. Call it. See if that builds. Okay. So let's put this over here for a second. So the animated rig types now individually should be able to receive on animation events. So that's void on animation event, animation controller, animation event. Let's just make one of those, and then let's just do in x equals 2. We'll just put a breakpoint there. And we'll see if we can start getting animation events on the rig itself rather than the animation routines. So the rigs use the animation routines to say, well, in what state do you want to play what animation? But if the rig could listen for events as well, it could set animation routines based on events, because that's what we want to do. We want to listen to the event that we've been hit and set an animation routine on the rig. Animation event type. Let's just get animated rig type. So one of the problems with calling something type in a class is that you use type all over the place. So you get shadowing problems. So I'm going to change its name to rig type. There's so many places that are called type. Alright, we'll just do it manually. Type, rig type. So this is rig type. This is rig type. This is rig type. Is there a constructor somewhere that sets the rig type? This is rig type. This is rig type. So the rig type. Rig type. That's fine. This pointer, so what's happening here? To Hero Pro Rig. This might be Alfred. Hey, how's it going? Did I work? Do you work in the games industry? Start from scratch writing your own engine? So I used to work in the games industry a long time ago. Like 16, 17 years ago for a bit. Not for very long though, for less than a year. And then I went off and did my own thing, but I've always kept doing it as a hobby. So yeah, I've a tiny little bit of industry experience, but not really. And the rest of it, I've just taught myself, yeah. Start from scratch. Yes, I started from scratch right in the engine. Yeah, if you've got any questions, no problem. So what's the problem here? I want to set it to be the Hero Pro Rig because this is const. That's why. Okay, cool. This is rig type. This is also rig type. I've written quite a lot of engines in my time on my own, like hobby engines. So I do have a bit of experience in writing engines on my own. Engine design. Yeah. Like engine architecture. So what did I use? One of the guys that used to work at Naughty Dog, he still might, wrote a book about engine, but what's he called? I'll just try and find it for you. Game Engine Architecture by Jason Gregory. I remember I bought this. Now you can probably get a PDF online of this. You probably don't need to buy it anymore because it's old. It's from 2009. This was a really good book, I remember. So Jason Gregory's like an engine lead or was an engine lead at Naughty Dog. Don't know if he still is, I'm not sure. Life's too short to get bogged down in repetitive tasks. Try using Copilot. Right, okay. I have tried using Copilot before. The thing is I actually quite like. I find it very therapeutic to type the code in, which might sound daft. I'm not looking for maximum yield, really, maximum productivity. I like sitting down and writing. as more like an artistic thing really than anything else. I think if I was doing this under time pressure or money pressure, I'd do something like Copilot. I'd use it. Maybe. I'd try and use it anyway. One of the things I found with it is my workflow went from a lot of writing code to a lot of checking code. So obviously Copilot gives you an example and you have to read through it to see if it's what you want. And I didn't like that as much, but you could probably get used to it. Yeah. It was a really good. It's outdated. Well, it's probably not outdated because I think the game engine architecture is probably not changed very much. But I remember that being an awesome book. And then just a lot of trial and error as well. Writing your own little parts of engines. You don't have to go for a full engine. Try and write an asset pipeline. Try and write part of an engine. So how do you go from raw image files and sounds and animations to the finished game data? Try and like little bits like that, and then it gives you a good idea of, you get some experience. Because it's just a lot of trial and error, seeing what works and what doesn't. Yeah, if you've got any questions about engine development, I'll be happy to help you. It's a really fascinating subject. I think general architecture of any big system is quite interesting, how you would go about doing it, especially game engines. Alright, so we're building this now. So we did set up a breakpoint. We want to just see if we start receiving animation events in the rig itself. So let's just run it and see. Build it first. There's a really good, this might be Alfred, there's a really good web series by Casey Muratori. Have you heard of Casey Muratori before? Which is really good. Let me find it. If you're still there, this might be Alfred. This is an awesome resource for engine programming. It's quite advanced though, but it's awesome. I mean, there's a lot of intro to C. He does intro to C for a few videos, and then he gets straight into the really advanced stuff after that. So you do kind of need to know a little bit of C++, I would say. But he's a really good engine programmer. Yeah. He'll teach you about, not necessarily, I mean, he does write an engine in the series, but he teaches a lot about how to get away from the object-oriented mindset to improve performance, which is fascinating, and about architecture. Or API design, really, rather than grand overall architecture, but definitely about API design, tricks and stuff. Yeah, no problem, yeah. Okay. Doesn't look like we're receiving animation events. Oh, we are. There we go. So that animation event was a custom event. We're only receiving custom events. That's what's happening. So do we want to actually plumb this in to receive all animation events? How would we do that? Animated rigs. Where we're actually sending the event. Add the event listener. It's quite old, this code, so I just need to really familiarize myself with how it even works. I think the best way to do it would be to go to a routine and just follow the code back from here. We need to get Spidey and Angry to actually start receiving events here. There we go. So this comes from send event, iAnimated rig, send event. So we just have event listeners on the rig. So we could basically put another event listener on the rig. So who is adding the event listener? Check we're not actually adding one already with the animation controller. Oh, we are. We're doing it here, look. So we can actually just call send animation event. What does that do here? That'll create a lot of different types of copying. So if you call send animation event, it sets the data and it does send internal. And then it does that anyway. That might be fine though. So this is E, not type. E. Well, that's kind of a sending a custom animation event, isn't it? Yeah, I don't think we actually want to do that. What we want to do, we do just want to do is send it for the rig. This is kind of duplicated code. So we can call send animation event internal. Problem with that is custom events. But it won't be a custom event, would it? So we could just do AC send animation event internal. No, we can't do that actually. So it's just purely forwards the event. So we have to do this. Unfortunately. Even though it's a bit of code duplication, it's not quite duplicated enough, or not quite the similar enough. To reuse it. So this is just AC. Okay, so now the rig itself will receive all the animation events, which is great. Might need to use that. Here we go, we're getting them all now. So this event was a start event. Okay, cool. So we need to listen if event.type is equal to a custom event. We need to go we want to listen for the attack event now, which happens in, so basically what we're doing in the routine for the hit, for being hit. We were only working on the hero, weren't we? So here it is. So we need to say if auto data equals controller, try get custom event data, G event, combat attack. So if this custom event involves an attack, we say if data dest entity ID is equals to the controller get ID, meaning we are the ones being attacked, we need to go controller play combat override routine, hero pro hit routine, combat hit routine. I believe that's it. Which means we can get rid of this. At least in the craft item, we can get rid of it. Anything to do with being hit now. The harvest ground item, we can get rid of it. So we can get rid of all these now. So we've got this thing called hit handle. That can go. And then we can get rid of this. And get rid of that. Hero probe roaming routine. We can get rid of that. get rid of all these bits of code now because we're handling it further away. We're handling it actually in the rig rather than the animation routines. So we don't need to know that anymore. Now then, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. The problem is returning back to need to set the combat attack state as well to none. I believe. Where do we want to do that? So in the hit routine, wherever that is, we go back to the combat routine. Do we want to get the combat controller and reset? So we can do if auto CC is get game state, get combat controller, CC, clear combat attack state like that. And what will that do? It'll set it to none. So basically you play the animation and then you clear the combat because you might be like in the middle of an attack or something, and that's where the interrupt happens. Question is, do we want to do it here? Or do we want to do it somewhere else? Because that's not strictly to do with animation. That's really just combat stuff. Let's just see where this comes from, ultimately. So if it comes from a combat controller, we can just do it in the combat controller there. Get this building and we'll just see. Wait till we get hit somewhere. Alright, so we've been hit. So we're about to play the hit animation. Where does this come from though? Where are we now? In the combat controller. So do we want to get here, do we want to get the Dest combat controller and clear it? Clear the attack state here. Set to none at the moment. But we might be in the middle of an attack. Who else listens to this? Yeah, I think we probably do want to do it here. This will mean for all enemies it would clear the attack, which probably is true. So it'd be something like Dest CC. What's it called? Dest CC. Clear combat attack state. There. Which means we don't have to worry about it for every single one of these routines we hit. Okay, so let's we're going to play the hit, and then we're going to wait until that ends. And then we're going to play the hero roaming. I'm going to play the combat routine, even though we are in combat apparently. I think Visual Studio Debugger's like one of the best ones for sure. At least one of the best free ones. It does so much, yeah. It's really, really good. I use two debuggers. I use the Visual Studio one for CPU debugging, and then I use Pix for GPU debugging. Pix is good as well. Pix is another Microsoft made debugger, but it's for GPUs. So let's just get game state. We're apparently in combat, it says. Gameplay state is normal. So gameplay state is normal. Weird. I wonder why that got through there. So it is the playable character. Yeah, you can do all sorts. Like you can look at memory, you can look at the disassembly and step through that. Set all sorts of weird breakpoints. Measure performance, like profile. It's good. I'm just confused here. Why that managed to go through there? Oh look, there's a bracket problem. That's why. Right, yeah, you got to get used to hotkeys and shortcuts with Visual Studio, I think. To stop, wading through menus and things like that, because there's so much to it. But yeah, like, you need a couple of hotkeys, like F9, which puts a breakpoint on the current line. The hotkeys for stepping through and stepping over debug, like lines of code and stuff. They're all like F9, 10, and 11. I did try out Sublime Text for a while. Not for a while. For like an afternoon. But I didn't transfer to using it because the debugging experience isn't there. You can attach different debuggers, but it's just not there. Like, it's just very slow. Like, it took like 20 seconds to launch the game. To attach the debugger and launch the game, and then maybe a quarter of the time the debugger just crashed halfway through debugging. Okay, so we shouldn't. So now we just cancel it because we're actually. We're not in any override routine actually, or in the hit routine. Sorry, yeah. Let me enter the current routine. So that just puts us back into the roaming routine. Oh, and we got a accessing an empty optional somewhere. I didn't get the assert box. Let's try that again. Let's try that again. Yeah, so I'm just working right now on how to interrupt an attack in a nice way. So there's no override routine. Ah, look, it's here. This is the empty optional. Yes. So this might actually cancel itself. So we've got to test again there. Because this is actually a loop, this. So it gets, basically this gets nulled and then it comes back again and it tries to access a null one. Awesome. So we're getting hit there. So here we go, like, we're still able to move the character when he gets hit. How do we want to handle that then? Do we want the character to be able to move if he's hit? So is it's kind of a stagger if he can't move. So what's happening there is setting this routine here, combat hit, and he's just playing the hit routine, and he's not playing any animations when I want to move him. The question is, do you want to be able to move a character after he's been hit? Let's try not moving the character. So we need to be able to stop the character being moved. So how do we do that? So in the movement controller tick, we have to stop him being playable for a minute. So we have to do. So this would be more like a stagger. It would be if auto movement controller get game state dot get movement controller rig rig get ID. We get the movement controller for this rig. But what we need to do is you also have to check with this playable character. Is playable character. We're going to do this to the playable character. Rig.getID. If there's a movement controller, we need to do MC set, what would it be? Set input type to non-playable, which means that it won't move. And then when we actually do this, so we can actually set him back to being playable here. So we probably want to be loop end or e.type is loop interrupt, because obviously this might get interrupted with something else later. Yeah, we'll just do that for now. Take him back to being playable. That needs to happen. Ooh, hang on a second. We're losing the fact that he's playable here, so that will fail. So we probably need to cache out whether it was playable. What is it called? E-movement input type. Probably don't know about this here. So we'll do it this way instead. This might be Alfred. Give them an iframe. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure if stagger's what I actually want. Yeah, exactly. Obviously, if the player can't move, then he's just going to get... If you get stuck in a loop where the player stops being able to move and then keeps getting hit over and over again, they'll just die, which would be awful. I'm going to implement it with the stagger and see how long the stagger is. The stagger is going to be the length of the animation, like the hit animation, which is only, yeah, like a fraction of a second. See, what I probably will end up doing is having stagger as an actual kind of critical hit style thing eventually. So it sometimes will happen, sometimes won't. Right. We need to forward declare this because it doesn't know about it. So on enter, we basically, all we need to do is get the movement controller now and go input type equals MC get input type. If input type is equal to playable, we set it to be non-playable. And then here, we can say if input type is equal to playable, set it to be playable. And then we'll say input type is unknown. Just reset it. Okay, so that will hopefully, if that works, that will stop the character moving when I've been hit. Depends how long for. Yeah, this might be Alfred. Yeah, it might make it feel like bad to not be able to move away from an attack. And if that's the case, we need to be able to move. We'll just build in a tick function here where we can actually set the animations so he can get hit and still move away. The hit would probably have to be blended with it on the second track then. So he could still, because what might happen is he'll get hit, and then if you immediately move away, it will cancel that hit animation and you won't see that you've been hit. But we could blend it on a second track, so like move away whilst being hit, and it should look alright, hopefully. So it does stop me now. Turns all the UI off, which isn't good. It doesn't feel too bad. It might be a case if you're just constantly being swarmed by enemies. So what we might do is rename this to stagger. Make this the stagger routine. So this would be Combat Pro stagger. So this is we're just going to set so that now we can attach this to a status effect or something, or anything really that we want, and we can just say, well, we'll just set the combat stagger routine and it will make the hero stagger. And obviously the UI turns off, so we'll have to fix that. I think, is there a nice way? So obviously it's only showing the UI of the playable character. And we're setting it to not be the playable character, which is kind of not the right way to do it, really. Because it still is the playable character, you just can't control him. It might just be an enabled, disabled job, which we don't have. I'm not really a fan of enabled, disabled, to be fair. We could put it in here. So void enable, void disable, bool is enabled. This might be better actually, because it means it doesn't have to even be the playable character. It means we could stagger enemy characters because we're just turning off the movement controller now. So this would work on enemy characters as well. That at the playable character, it would be able to stagger them. So we'll go for this for now. So that's enabled is true. Enabled is false. Is enabled, return enabled. And this now means we don't need the actual input type anymore. It does clean it up a bit doing this. Problem with using enabled and disabled is you end up in situations where you've always got to check if it's enabled and stuff. We'll see how bad it gets. So we're just going to go MC disable. And then we're just going to go MC enable. So this is a problem, like we disable it. What happens if it was already disabled? We would be re-enabling it, but another system would be expecting it to be disabled. So we might have to do it a different way. Might have to make this signed enable counter, or disable counter might be a better. So that's just disable counter minus minus. Well, it's BM not neg. Disable counter minus 1 is the disable counter. And then this is disable counter plus plus. And this is just disable counter is 0. Still not great, really. And then the movement controller itself on the tick, just say if disable counter return position, I believe, location position, which means it doesn't do anything. So this should be identical in terms of what it does. Apart from it will work even if it's the hero's not the playable character. I quite like the idea that we have a stagger routine though now. So this is if we want to actually stagger the player. And it would be good to actually put a stagger length in. So this just basically plays a hit and then an idle. And then a tick will tick down the stagger length. And it'll just be staggered for a bit. So when I get hit, I just stop moving. Which does feel alright. So the stagger routine actually now is going to be a bit different. We're going to do void on tick. It's actually bool, isn't it? On tick. Oops. And then we want a stagger timer, stagger T. And then we can actually, it's in a float, stagger T. Like that. If we want to, we can actually set a stagger time. Maybe we do standard optional. Float. If we don't pass in a time, it would just do the length of the animation, the hit animation. If we do pass in a time, then we stagger it for that length of time. Okay. So this would essentially be now we want to say if not stagger T equals, we don't have the rig here, so that's to be here, rig dot get animation duration hit. We'll just set the stagger time to be the duration of the actual hit animation. So we're going to do minus equals, well, equals bm not neg stagger T minus dt2. dt2 is the delta, but it doesn't tick if it's paused. The game is paused. If stagger T is 0, then basically we return true, I think. True mean that we end. I think false means that we end. Else we return true. And then on leave just does this, I think. It just does that. I don't think we even need that actually. Which means we don't need the animation event. It means we don't even need the hit handle. Oh, I've deleted the wrong one. No, I haven't. So we don't actually need the hit handle anymore. So it'll come in, so on enter, it'll play the hit route. Oh no, it will set the stagger T to either what you set it on the constructor or the length of the hit animation. It'll play the hit animation, and I think it needs to do rig.q animation track 0 idle. Maybe we could crouch. We could go to a crouch if we're staggered. BM true looped. So we'll just loop over and over again. And then on tick, we do that. We'll just tick down the stagger. And then on leave, we'll enable the movement controller. If we're in combat, we will play the combat override routine. This is my only concern, is doing this. Because this might reset the route, so it might call leave and then reset. We'll see. We'll do it out of combat first, and we'll just check we have the desired result. And then we will go into what's the problem? Oh, there's two. There's two with 0. Arguments. 2 with 0 arguments. 2 constructors. So this is optional. So I think we should say if not stagger T, then false. Good. And then we need to make another routine now, which is just a general hit routine without a stagger. Or we might have to blend the hit in. I don't think it's working actually. We're immediately calling on leaves by the looks of it. There's not a stagger T. Oh, that's wrong. Typo there. So he'll basically get hit and go to a crouch while he's staggered. For the stagger length. There you go, he's staggered. Can't interrupt it though. Weirdly. It's because we're only we're allowing actually to. So he's gonna stay like that and we get him back up again. So on leave needs to actually set the animation to idle. True. I'm gonna loop it. So when he leaves, he'll stand up again. There we go. We obviously don't want to play the crouch if like that. We only want to play the crouch if we've got a stagger T that's not the animation duration. So we stop him like sitting down, standing up again. Immediately. There we go. So this is staggered, but not for very long. If we put in a longer stagger, which must come from the animation controller. Where does it come from? Who's creating this? Here. So if you put it down, do it for like 5 seconds. You should go and sit, like crouch down for a few seconds before we're allowed to move him again. Seems shorter than 5 seconds. Oh no, hang on. We want to play them both. So this is a situation, if you're still there, this might be Alfred, where he's just gonna, I can't escape. He keeps going down to be staggered. So the leave there is always gonna set back to idle, which we kind of, do we want that? I mean, I think it's fine. So let's get in combat mode and we'll just try putting him back into the combat animation routine. So put in combat mode by just getting my sword out, essentially. So it goes to the combat routine. That's infinite looping now. Yeah. Infinite looping. So we're going to reset the old routine, the stagger routine, which is going to call on leave on it again. So we need to do something to avoid that. It would be nice to be able to set the other animation routines in animation routines, like transfer to other animation routines. How do you do that? What would be a nice way of doing that? So we could have another one called enter animation routine, where we pass in an animation routine. That might be the nice way to do it. So enter animation override routine. We don't do the reset. In which case, this would be an enter animation routine. Enter's probably a bad word. Would be a good override animation override routine. Right over animation override routine. Just interesting. One causes an infinite loop, so I don't know if I want to try and avoid that, you know. That seems like the better thing to do. That will also work. That basically won't call leave. Don't know if I really want to do that. Then leave's not guaranteed to be called, you see. Really, I just want the same thing, but I don't want it to come back into this. You know? Could test the type IDs of the routines. So the combat stagger routine. It needs to like the overwrite animation routine. So you have to pass yourself. I think you have to pass yourself in. Right. Going to do class current routine. Animation routines. So you got to pass in the current routine. And we just have to make sure that the address of the current routine is the address of the override routine. So that means that only the current routine can call it. Only the override routine can call it. So if not override routine, return 0, right? This can actually be standard optional float. So we return standard optional float. If standard address of the override routine is not equal to standard address of the current routine, we return that. Does that even compile? That means we've really restricted who can call that. Oh, it can only be called basically by the current routine. which means you can only use this inside itself, which is nicer. I think that is nicer. That's going to stop. That's going to mean that onleaf is guaranteed to be called by outside. You can't compare addresses. That's unfortunate. Oh, it's not that either though. So this is maybe a little bit better. We can do like else using t equals standard kt, the current routine. Like I said, I'll say current routine. We can say if override routine storage is type T. So now we say it has to be the actual type. Of current routine. So they've got to be the same type, which is better than comparing the addresses. No, it's not. It has to be the same, literally the same one. So we need to do else if auto data equals override routine storage try and wrap T. Yeah, so this now is can't compare standard address. Oh well, we might be able to because there were different types before. Data is not equal to standard address of current. Return standard optional float. Okay, that works. That works. So let's just test it then. Oh. What's happening here? qualifier applied to function has no meaning. Apparently. What does this return? An octref of type. Okay. That thing. Can we call it get? Okay, well, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. Data get pointer equal to the address of current. It's not there where the error is. Where is this coming from? Value or I'm not entirely sure what that error is. We'll figure it out though. Okay, that's going to build fine, that. So let's just get rid of this. Okay, that worked. It's literally just comparing them like that. It doesn't like. Nope. Oh, in there. So we're doing these things here as well. So I'll try and wrap T. It's the error as well. So it's trying to unwrap the current routine. Should be fine. Okay, so I just didn't like that. Oh, it's probably this. Probably because of brackets there. It was making one of them or something. Yeah, that was it. What a weird error. Like the actual error was nothing to do with the syntax error. Don't you love C++ errors, eh? So let's do standard address of again. Data. Sorry about that. Current. Now I can check it hopefully. So if this works, gonna have a 2-minute break to make a cup of coffee. And that's kind of, is that the stagger done then? Oh, it's not built. Awesome. Alright, we'll just rebuild this. It'll take a minute. So it's going to come through. If there's not an override routine, it doesn't make sense to overwrite it. If there is one, we're going to try. So this tests if it's the same type. If they're the same type, we're going to test the same address. If they're not the same address, then they're not the same routine. Like technically you only need to actually test the address. You'd have to test the type, but I need to test the type to get the actual data out anyway, so it's just happening. It's just going to happen anyway. And it just means that this can only be called from within inside the override routine. So the override routine is the only routine that's allowed to overwrite itself, which is good. I don't want other things to be able to override the override routine, overwrite the override routine. Because then you specifically know that you're on leave is not going to get called if you're overwriting yourself. That's just knowledge you would know. Which means you can call it from on leave, which is what we're doing. Okay, so going to combat. Let's go and get hit. Right. I am the only person that's allowed to overwrite myself in the animation controller. Hopefully. Awesome. There we go. And we're immediately going to reset the overwritten one, which is a shame. So yeah, this is what I was thinking might happen. It might immediately just reset itself, which it does. But that works the other bit. So we're going to take 2 minutes, make a cup of coffee, and then we'll just sort out this problem. So we kind of like overwrite itself, and then we basically reset what we've overwritten, which is not great. All right. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay. So it's immediately been reset. Also, it's going to call unleave on the new one. So that isn't great. We need another one, really. So what we need is enter animation routine. Enter animation routine. Animation routine. This. Put it above. Which is basically just this. But it's the routine. Then this is enter animation routine. Override routine. And this is enter animation routine. And then what this actually needs to do is not set the override routine. It needs to set another animation routine called the queued routine. Like this. So we set the queued routine. We don't enter like that. So this will actually queue it, and then just run that. And we'll just check. Bitwielder, hey, how's it going? Hope you're alright. That's coming back. Just working on combat. Oh, nice one. Choose your own adventure story. Are you writing it? I like writing it like an actual novel type thing, or is it a game? Alright, so we need to get in our combat state and get hit. I'm going to stagger. Okay. So we're going to call overwrite. Goes to these checks and put something in the queued routine now. Which is great, because this is still the stagger one. So it's actually going to redo the stagger there. So enter animation routines. Okay, so that didn't queue. Well, it did queue it. It wasn't the right place for it though. It's gonna get hit over and over again, so we need to actually in the rig there. Just do that for now. A novel with extra steps. Yeah, I know what you mean. So I love them. So it's just like, you know, you choose what page to turn to next based on what you want to do. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, nice one. All right. So we called override here. So we queue it. We don't overwrite it yet. We queue it. All right. So if you go back into the stagger. So we need to say queued routine there, override routine, standard move, queued routine dot reset. Do it there maybe. Yeah, I'll give it a go. Try it, yeah. That sounds cool. So we overwrite it. We go back to the main one. That would have called enter on the main one. I'm not sure about that. HTML file. Okay, cool. That would have called enter here. This has turned out to be too difficult, I think. Upgrade C++ library. Oh, cool. So wait, which one was that? What are you working on? The debugging library. Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, I remember looking at this. Yeah. I remember we were looking through this a few weeks ago. Yeah, it's nice. Nice one. This one's really nice. This one. Nice and simple to use. Excellent work. Very good. Yeah, V3 is the latest one. Yeah. Awesome. So you would think that the best place to do it would be here. If there's a queued routine, enter it. The problem with that is when we actually get interrupted, we can queue a routine. So say like we get staggered, and then we've queued the routine to go back to the combat routine, and then we come along again and it wants to re-stagger. It will set the queued routine. Or maybe, no, actually, maybe when we do the override, when we actually play it, we do queued routine dot reset there. Like that. So if we come via a play, it resets the queued routine. So if you do if queued routine, if we don't come via the play, it applies it. No, it's the wrong way around. Like that. So where else were we doing this? There, we don't want to do that. There. That could be it. Send the story on Discord. All right, cool. Hold on 1 second. Never really have Discord open. Okay. This is mint. New range interstellar orbital navigator. Orion. That's cool. Look at that. AI generated, but it's absolutely mint in it. Meteorite pierces the hull straight into the nuclear reactor. No. Yeah, this is cool. -1 scraps. Yeah, I like it. It's really good. Do the full spectrum scan. And there we go, got to the end. It's really good. Good work, that. That's really good. Awesome. I love stuff like that. I used to read them when I was younger, you know. Choose Your Own Adventures. Okay, we're not staggering at all now. What's going on? Oh, because we need to be in combat for it to work. Okay, so we want to override it. And we set it to Q. Get through all this stuff. So we reset the override routine, we return true, and we enter animations. There's a queued one now. So we move it. How much work would this be? Not much work, it's just a mem copy. Then we enter the queued one, which is the combat routine. So there we go. I'm resetting it now for some reason. Is that correct? Yeah. You got a lot there though. That was good. Override routine, reset. And then we enter it there. The problem is, so we're going to actually set it. We're going to enter the override routine because this is a cancel. And then we're going to immediately reset the override routine there. So I don't think we actually even need to do that now. So we just queue it. So we reset the stagger routine. There's a queued routine. So now there's an override routine and there's not a queued routine anymore. So we enter the override routine. And that's basically it. The question is, what happens when we want to do something else? I think that might be fine. That does a little stagger for like a, you probably can't tell on stream, but it staggers for a split second. What I want to do now is what happens when we stagger a stagger. So we're already staggered. See if it can handle that. So we'll stagger for like 10 seconds. Which means that he'll attack again. And we're already in a staggered state. So we will do the overwrite again. So do the first one. Because this is a cancel, this is on leave with a cancel because he's about to re-stagger him. So stagger T is not 0. It's at 7 seconds. So we want to try and go to the pro combat, right? But it needs to not, essentially. So we're going to queue it. Let me add the override routine. We reset the queued one. And now it goes to the override, which is stagger. So it re-staggers, which is what we want. Obviously, it's staggered forever at the moment because the stagger is so long. And the leave is just causing him to stand up, which is fine. I mean, that's just a blip, animation blip like that we would sort out when we did real characters. This is just a standing character, really. So he's basically staggering forever, and there's nothing I can do now. I run away, can't move, which would be terrible in a real game. If you get hit once and you can't move until you die. But that's not the point. The point is that we can do a stagger, and we could even do a stagger for like 2 seconds. There'll be a point where if the actual attacks if the cooldowns are shorter than the stagger animation durations, we will get into this problem where we can't run away. He's staggered now for a couple of seconds. Crouching. Alright. That's stagger done for 2 seconds. The stagger length needs to kind of be a status effect, doesn't it? Or something. It needs to come from the attack. Could work on that next, actually. It's a shorter stream today, so I can't really. I could go and actually work on the general attack being hit routine, or I could just have a look at seeing how we could get rid of this 2 into a more pre-coded value that comes from what type of attack it is and who's doing the attack. So that would be something like, if you go to combat stats, right, we could have, we have produced status effect. We could make it a status effect, staggers being a status effect. How would that feed into the attack? Let's get the combat controller of the source. So you do something like get combat stats. Get the combat stats for the data, the source entity. this is the person doing the attack. And then what does that return? NPC attack level stats. Combat stat level. So if we put it in here, we would have like it's kind of a status effect. But it's more like a, what would you call a stagger? It's more like a critical hit or something, you know, it's like a an attack effect. So it'd be like enum class E attack effect unknown stagger. Put that down here. Or we could just make it a status effect. I think we make it a status. It's just like critical hit. It falls in the same group as critical hit, which is not really a status effect. We'll worry about that later. We'll make it a status effect. And then we want it's just basically struct status effect stagger. Status effect stagger. And then we want status effect stagger float minty float max T. And we got duration % chance. And then we want should apply as well. Like that. Probably have on enter as well. So maybe it could happen from here. We could actually apply it. So right now we're applying directly on the stagger routine on the Hero Pro rig. This could actually get the controller and play the override routine directly from the status effects. Try that. I think we could just actually do that, can't we? We also want the % chance that it happens So the should apply is the same as this. And on enter needs to get the so we've got the status effect instance, which has got the owner, what would it be? The owner who has the status effect. So it's if auto is get game state, get animation controller for instance dot owner ID. So this is who the status effect is being applied to. AC play animation override routine. But we don't know which one. So we need to figure that out. So we need to do on animation event, I think. Just send AC send animation event. So we're not sending an animation event from the rig itself, from the actual controller itself. Yeah, we send the custom one, don't we? So it's e animation event type custom, and then whatever status effect we want to apply, I suppose. So it'd be like G event apply status effect. This, I think. Which we don't have. We have not written that yet. Probably need the instance who we want to apply it to. So the owner ID. So I wonder actually if we just send, we don't have to send it here, you know. We could send it here. So we could say that never moves. So we could actually send an event there. So we could go get game events, send G event, apply combat status effect. Where does the effect come from? The stats. So we could just pass the effect. And the effect data. We could just pass the instance. Combat status effect instance. Something like that. And then this wouldn't need the on enter. Let's get this compiling. I need to actually write this. G event types. Event type, game event types. Struct G event combat status effect instance. And that takes whatever this is. What's this called? A status effect instance. So I'm going to do opt-ref status effect instance. I'll just weak pointer, really. And that's the instance. See if that builds. And to forward declare this. This actually needs to go before we go further. Oh, in there. We already put it in there. That's fine. Yeah, so now we've just got a general event for when a status effect is applied, or an instance to a status effect is applied. Combat stats controller not found. Okay, well, we don't need that. we do that? Doesn't like that. Okay, let's just put it in a normal constructor then. Really doesn't like that. Oh, it's because now we need a default constructor. What's the problem here? Doesn't like the const. All right. So that means here in the combat stats now, we can do data, EMPCID, Spidean, E-combat attack level. So say level 1 produces a status effect. Status effect, stagger, time range 1 to 2 seconds. Like that. We need the percent chance as well. Chance, we'll say it's got 100% chance at the moment. So that means the attack level 1, which is the claw coming down, will have 100% chance of staggering for 1 to 2 seconds. That's the problem here. Type is not a member of status effect stagger. So we need a type. The stagger. Basically, animation controller now can listen for this event and fire to the rigs. Send custom animation events on the rigs. believe. Whatever the animation control, or is it the combat controller that does it? Yeah, it'd be the combat controller actually. So whoever is actually pushing animation events, sending the animation events, the custom ones. So let's just see who's sending that event. It's in initialize. Here it is. Initialize rig types. So it's basically here. So we need to do get game events. And we've got to listen for G event. Apply combat status effect instance. E. Then we need to send a custom animation event now. Solid since birth. Hey, thanks for the follow. If you've got any questions, just ask, no problem. Okay, so if E, so this has in it a status effect instance which has a prefab, an optional prefab. So it's if E dot instance prefab. Check that builds. Invossi, hey, how's it going? Welcome back. So if we have a prefab, we need to get the source ID, who the status effect is being applied to. Oh, it's prefab storage. No, it's not. It's the owner ID. To get the animation controller, and we want to send the animation event there. In a mood, yes. Oh, good. I'm glad you're feeling better. Effect prefab storage. So it's actually the instance ID. Instance is owner ID. Oh, nice one. Good work. Good luck on that. Apply custom offset to a specific UI element by name. Cool. Solid since birth. Hey. How's it going? This Can you create any software like this, even for marketing projects? Yeah, I suppose I could do anything really. We don't know about the animation controller in here. Oh. We should do, because we're in the animation controller. So what is this? Instance owner ID. Oh, it's optional. Okay. If auto owner ID is that. Yeah, this is a game engine, solid since birth, so it does get complicated from time to time. That's true. Particularly working on combat at the moment. Working on an attack stagger. So when you get attacked, you stagger, which means you can't move for a bit. So have a slight 3D when the world map. When the world map and then goes back to probably 3D when in the game. Oh, cool, man. Okay, so we have the animation controller of the person who applied the status effect. Now we just need to get the status, what the status effect is. We can either do that or we could send the animation event with this in it. With E in it. So this is sending events to the animation system that we've applied a status effect of some kind, and then the animation system can react. It can play some animations. So we get staggered when the guy hits us with his big spike thing. There we go. So if we look at E, we can see the prefab is a stagger. And then it has the stagger information, which came from the attack now. So we send the event. On the rig type. So it's here. There we go. So this is, so now we have an event that's kind of could be, it's a custom event that could be any status effect that's been applied. So now we can just look through the status effects and apply the right animation routine. Questions about hashing strings. Okay. Is it quicker to hash a runtime string on compare to a pre-hashed constant string? Or should I use string find? If it's pre-hashed, so meaning you already have the integer, that means you've got to, the one that's not hashed, you've got to go through and hash it, which is O of n, and then do a compare at the end. So you've got like n+1 instructions. If you're doing string find, you've got to do n+n instructions, haven't you? Because you've got to compare for every single character in the string. So it's probably faster to do hash and then compare to a pre-hashed, I would say. Yeah. If it's pre-hashed, yeah, it would be faster. Got to loop through all the contents of the string to make the hash on the one that's not hashed, and then do a one compare at the end. And if you've got string literal, meaning not a variable, but like actually like ABC, you could hash that at compile time. If you have that implementation. And that is just integer compare, one instruction. So that's the fastest if you have those literals. If you don't have the literals, you have to hash them at runtime. Yeah, I would say so. If one of the strings is already hashed, so you only have to hash the string. If one of them's hashed once, if you're having to hash both strings each frame, it's probably not faster. But it might be, because there's still only one compare. It depends, you'll have to profile that. You'll have to see, it's difficult, it depends on the hashing as well. How fast is your hash? If your hash is slow, then it might be actually easier to just do string find. But you can do really fast string hashes. So it's just that really. You're really gonna have to, yeah, it might be faster to do string.find, I'm not sure. Depends on how long this takes to do. Could potentially be faster. It's definitely faster if you know the strings in advance. It's probably borderline if you have to hash the string. So if you're just hashing the string once a frame and then doing like a million compares using the hash, it'll definitely be faster. Yeah. If you're hashing it for every compare, it might not be. Right, so this is, we're going to go if auto data equals controller, try get custom event data, G event, that one. So the one we just sent. So let's just see if we can get that. Then what we need to do each time it goes to paint. Yeah. So you need to actually find it, search for it. Yeah, so hashing the actual needle string and then going through all of the test strings and hashing them and doing a compare with the hash of the needle string, I would say would be faster than doing a direct string compare. But I don't know. Depends, you could profile it and find out. You could like keep a cache of previously hashed strings as well. Maybe. I don't know. You could maybe do that. But then you'd have to hash the actual string to look in the cache. So probably not. Okay. I'd try it and see if it is faster. It may or may not be faster. Depends how fast the hash is, like the hashing routine is. Okay. All right, so we have now, we have an instance with the data in. So we can say if data instance type is equal to eStatus status effect stagger, I could even do better than that. If auto stagger equals data instance prefab data. Hang on, what is this? Instance prefab data here. So try unwrap status effect stagger. Actually get the stagger out of it. So if data instance owner ID is equal to controller.get. So if we are the controller, get the stagger out and then apply it combat routine, and that's stagger duration random. There you go. Can teach you how to get a job as a fresher in today's world. Front-end development. Get a job. So you need lots of, you need like a portfolio of code really and stuff you've worked on. Get a WordPress website. Get a GitHub profile. Work on some stuff. Do some projects for friends. Get your name out there as someone who can code, I suppose, and then you present like a portfolio to an employer or a recruitment agent, and you say, this is what I'm capable of. Go for the junior jobs, if there are any, and then fingers crossed. That's what I would say. The problem with me is that I'm not really part of the industry like that, so I can't give you first-hand advice. In fact, if it was me, that's what I would do. Status effect prefab storage. So where is that defined? Combat stats controller. So we need to include combat stats controller here. One experienced guy. You need to go for the junior jobs, yeah. It's difficult to say what it's like in the web world. By front end, I presume you mean web. I only really know about the game industry, and that's pretty rigorously ranked. You know, there's like levels of the industry. So if you've got no experience and you go and try and get a job as a gameplay coder, you're probably not going to stand a good chance because they want experienced gameplay coders. What you'd have to do is go and get an internship or try and get a job as a junior gameplay coder. It might be the same in the web world. I'm not sure. Not getting paid. So any decent employer should pay you as an intern. If they're not paying you, then it's not worth it. They're not a good company to work for. The thing is, what you're doing by coming in as a junior for them is allowing them to mold you into an employee that's good for their company. So you do have worth even as a junior. So it's definitely worth being paid. And if they can't see that, then don't go work for them. Like, coming in as a junior is not meant to be a free ride for them. It's meant to be an opportunity for them to teach you their ways. So in the future, you'll bring value to the company. So any decent software company that is looking for juniors or interns should pay you. It won't be much, but they should pay you. Right, we have a problem here. Programming languages to get a job in 2025. I'm pretty sure there are some journalists out there that do that work on that stuff, and there are lists you can find. The top 10 highest paid programming languages for graduates. So you could have a look. Web is not my field of expertise, so I don't know web. Games, you're looking at C++, C#, probably. Rust. Is Rust a good one? Yeah. Yeah, if anyone else knows, let us know. Okay. What's the problem here? We've got a really random error here. Enum EMPC ID. What a strange error that is. We need to find out what we did to get that error. The thing about C++ though is there's tons of code bases out there that companies have developed over 50 years that are C++. So there's a lot of work for C++ developers maintaining those code bases, safe or unsafe, you know. So it's still, I think it is still the most in-demand language out there, if my memory serves me correctly. Graduate programming from India. Yeah, build up a portfolio of good work. That's the minimum you need, I would say. You definitely need to demonstrate. If you've got no work experience to you need a portfolio to demonstrate your ability. All right, I've got to start taking these out because we're having a weird 0. Look at that error. Can I allocate array of constant size 0? What a really weird error. It's to do, I've had this error before with me not including something in a list of tuples, I'm sure. I'll take this out. Is it future proof or not? C++, you mean? I don't think that anyone's going to be getting rid of C++ anytime soon. There's too many lines of code written in C++. Like I said, like 50 years of it. Okay, so that's definitely included in there. Status stagger. Definitely included in there. Okay, let's just get rid of those. Welcome Web Developer 21 as well. C++ is more, yeah, they are. I know it is a concern in C++ committee or whatever that governments are turning against using C++ because it's unsafe. So they're really trying hard to strengthen memory access, basically. Up. Let's have a look. Yeah, this is good. So if you've got 726,000 YouTube subscribers, is that what that means? Should be fine if you've got that many. I think people would be knocking at your door. Or is this just a template? Very difficult for me to say within the web world because I have no idea really how the web world works. No, you don't have to disturb, it's fine. I love talking about coding stuff. Yeah. Unsafe is a difficult word, isn't it? The thing is, as well as you use C++, why would you pick C++ over another language? like C#. And it's because of the unsafeness, I would say. It's because you want direct memory access. So it's a difficult thing, like, for the committee to try and get their head around. Because in one way, like, you need C++ unsafe features. So that's why you've picked the language. If you don't need those unsafe features, then you should pick a different language. I'm going to have to head off in 5 minutes. It's a shorter stream today because it's my daughter's school fair this afternoon. Should be nice. Yeah, fast because of, you mean undefined behaviour or potential undefined behaviour? Yeah. Yeah, you can potentially make C++ programs faster than other programs. It's not a guarantee or anything, I don't think. It's not like if you use this language, it will be faster. You've still got to know how to write fast. You can write very slow programs in C++ as well. Right, we've got a different... Okay. So let's just knock this out. Let's try and get rid of this compiler before I have to go. It's not there either. Maybe it's in combat stats. I have no idea what is causing this compile error because it's absolutely ridiculous. It just says cannot allocate an array of constant size 0. So I can't, there's no stack or anything, there's no place in the code to go to. Here we go. Got a bit of a better error now. Let's just rebuild this. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, you would write, you know, anything that's performance critical. Yeah, you would choose. But there are other good systems languages out there, aren't there? Like Rust, I think Rust is one of them, and Go, that can do that thing. And things like games where you really want to just cram in as much as possible. So you want to be performant as possible so you can cram more stuff in. You know, any CPU on a AAA game, every instruction is taken into account, really. Every cache miss. Because it means you can't have, you know, you want to get as many lights in the level as possible to make the level look awesome. Okay. So it's when we're visiting these. So we've got another. Well, that's weird. It's giving me, even though it's giving me a compiler on a different line of, on a line of code that doesn't have any code on it. Well, I'm gonna have to go. Hopefully this builds. Otherwise, I'll have to do it tomorrow. No. So if I click that, and then I go to the problem details. Oh, that's not even the same problem though, is it? There are no problem details. Strange error. I think I have compiled out basically everything. I put in before when we were compiling properly. Yeah, that's their nanite thing, isn't it? That tessellation, that geometry tessellation stuff. I haven't looked at how that works, but that's well impressive. Right. Yeah, they've got that in the new Witcher game. That was part of their... Did you see the preview for The Witcher 4, the tech demo? They had nanite foliage, so all the trees and stuff were... using this new rendering technology. Yeah, it's really cool. This is mental. What is causing this problem? Well, I'm gonna have to go. I need to go and get my daughter and take her to the summer fair. But yeah, see you later. See you later, Infossy. You gotta go as well. Right, see you later, guys. Back on tomorrow at about 9:30, something like that. See you later.